Hi guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Today we've got an exciting battle for you. We're going to see what would happen if Krillin were to enter a tournament against all the most powerful beings in the multiverse. So if you haven't already, make sure you click like and subscribe, hit the notification icon. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to do that so that you won't miss anything. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. All right, now this is Krillin talking. I was having a rough day. Krillin, I'm tired of being broke. Maybe you should get a better job, Android 18 said with a hint of frustration in her voice. But I like being a police officer, Krillin responded. It doesn't pay much. If you're going to keep playing cops and robbers, at least enter a tournament or something, 18 responded, sounding annoyed. And that's how it all started. So there I was in a strange universe, set to do battle with the most powerful beings in the multiverse. My first round fight was against this All Might guy. I fought him a few weeks back, and it didn't go so well. He wasn't a very technical fighter, but he caught me off guard with his strength. He beat me last time, but it wasn't happening again. I was ready. We stepped out onto the arena, and I could feel my heart pounding. I was nervous, terrified actually. As I looked across the battlefield, I could see a mountain of muscle brimming with confidence. He was grinning as if something was seriously psychologically wrong with him. What was even more unnerving were his cold, dark, lifeless eyes. "Let's get ready to rumble," shouted the announcer, and the battle commenced. I wasted no time and sprang into action, landing a kick to my opponent's midsection. To my surprise, he was unfazed. He threw a punch and I dodged it. I felt the force of the punch even though he missed me. And I knew that if he had landed one, I was in big trouble. He threw another strike, and this time I dodged it again. As I dodged it, I elbowed him in the back of his neck, causing him to stumble. As he regained his footing, he sprang back towards me. This time, I parried and attempted to land a hook, but he managed to dodge it. Not completely though. I grazed him. To my surprise, I saw a small cut. I had managed to injure him. He wiped the blood from his face, and suddenly, he was no longer smiling. In a fit of rage, he began throwing lightning fast punches at me. I managed to dodge them at first, but they got faster and faster. Eventually, he landed one, and the force was so great that I felt it through my entire body. It almost felt as if I was about to explode as the force of the punch traveled through my entire body. I could feel the lights going out. Was I dying? As I began to fade out, I could see my wife and kids' faces, and it sparked a flame inside my body. I regained my footing and began to power up. All Might stood in shock as my power surged. My goodness, the surge was intense. I imagine it's what it feels like for my friend Goku to go Super Saiyan. Ha! By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. My ki blast knocked him from the stage. I was the winner. I had finally avenged my loss. I had won the battle. But who would I face next? There were rumors of an Asgardian and a Kryptonian that were tearing their way through the bracket. Each of them was significantly more powerful than my first opponent. I thought to myself, do I have what it takes? I had faced and defeated tough opponents before, but these guys were insane. They were in a whole new league. There was this guy, they called him I think it was the Martian Manhunter or something silly like that, who had the power to project thoughts into his opponent's mind. He would have won his first match if his opponent wasn't dumb as a rock. A raging green beast smashed his head in. His mental attack didn't work right off, and the green behemoth knocked him out cold. Apparently the psychic attack did end up working, and the monster reverted back to his base form. A disgusting transformation that horrified the audience. After the transformation, the monster fell asleep in his base form, and it was a dual disqualification. The winner of that bout was set to fight the king of Atlantis, the Submariner. This guy just earned himself a bye into the next round. Now he and I were set to meet up in a quarterfinal match. Our bout was called much faster than I expected. I took my place, and I apologized to all the kids who look up to me for my actions in that moment. But when I saw this guy float down from the sky with his little ankle wings, wearing some green undies, I began to laugh hysterically. I knew the stakes were high, But when I was anxious and anticipating a fierce warrior, but ended up meeting Peter Pan's mutant uncle, it was too much. He didn't appreciate my laughter, and he told me I would pay, yada, yada, yada. Once the battle started, he wasted no time initiating his offense. I was far too busy trying to keep from having another laughing fit to feel threatened by his attacks. His punches didn't faze me, but he was pretty durable, so I was having a hard time determining how much force was too much. Finally, I'd had enough. I needed to end the battle before I started laughing again and got myself disqualified. Plus, there was a squid in the stands that kept eyeing me. I figured he was a fish guy. If I could dehydrate him, I could just push him out of bounds. I hit him with a sick solar flare and left the arena smelling like burnt fish. He fell to the ground and started flopping around like a fish out of water. I was going to just kick him off the stage, but the sight of him flopping around was just so gross. I looked at the ref, and I guess he could tell what I was feeling, so he just called the match and I had won. Next, I would face Thor, the god of thunder, who I thought was just a really, really buffed woman. So guys, thanks for watching. If it's the podcast, thanks for listening. Make sure that you've clicked like and subscribe. We will be coming back next week with the conclusion. Eventually, Krillin's going to work his way through the bracket, and let's see who he ends up facing. Will it be Superman? Will it be Spider-Man? Will it be Batman? We don't know who he's going to face in the finals. Now, this guy manhandled both of his opponents leading up to me. In the first round, he fought this guy in some red and blue spandex. The kid was agile and sneaky, but he was clearly outmatched. Even if he could have figured out some way to overcome Thor's physical attributes, he had no answer for his hammer. The tournament had some pretty wonky rules. Apparently, weapons are allowed. If somebody had told me, I would have borrowed the Z-sword. The hammer was crazy and could do all kinds of tricks. I couldn't figure out if it was AI or if this guy was a really good magician. The little spider kid was quick and landed a lot of blows, but didn't even manage to mess up the hammer man's hair. The match ended with the hammer guy hitting Spider Guy on his big toe. It looked painful enough, but to add insult to injury, the hammer guy just left the hammer on the poor kid's foot. The kid struggled and struggled to move the hammer as he screamed in agony. As strong as the kid was, he could not move the hammer. On the other hand, Blondie was flinging that thing around like it was weightless. What in the world was I up against next? Then in his next round, he beat up a girl. He fought some chick who literally called herself Wonder Woman. The crowd seemed so excited when she stepped out into the field of battle that I thought she had a chance. She had a golden glowing lasso that she could do some pretty cool tricks with. The best was when she roped the hammer guy, Thor. The lasso of truth compels you, she shouted as she had the guy all tied up. I think you're really pretty, and after I beat you, I want to ask you out on a date, he said. He was more truthful than he probably wanted to be, so I could tell the lasso had really worked. How do you plan to beat me, she asked. His response was classic. Before you roped me, I threw my hammer into outer space. It's currently returning to me at such a high rate of speed, you won't be able to dodge it, he said with a smile. The hammer struck her with such force in her gut that she farted, threw up, and sneezed all at the same time. She then passed out and couldn't finish the fight. Thor was the winner and my opponent in the semifinal bout. So there I was standing on the stage ready to do battle. The crowd was going nuts. The atmosphere was simply electric. I won't lie, I was nervous. I hadn't even warmed up that hard, but I was sweating beads. The ref called for Thor to take his place, and crickets. Where was this guy? Did he forfeit? The crowd started to boo him, and the referee was just about to call the match, but just then, there was a crack of thunder. Then this clown drops out of the sky and starts bouncing his muscles around everywhere. I shouted out, "Hey, it ain't that type of show, buddy." At first, I tried to be tough, but let's be real, Thor was on a whole nother level when it came to power. The fight started and he didn't waste any time. He looked big and clumsy, but was surprisingly quick. I dodged and dodged, but the hammer floated up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder and distracted me just long enough for him to land a hit. He hit me so hard that Roshi felt it. Speaking of Roshi, I caught him making goo-goo eyes at Thor, but when he turned around and he realized that he was a dude, the look on his face was priceless. The worst part of the whole fight, the dude managed to score a bullseye on my little pinky toe with his hammer. I'm telling you, it hurt so bad. And then I looked in the stands and I could see the Z Fighter snickering. Yeah, laugh it up, guys. Yamcha and Goten were in the stands having a hearty laugh at my expense. Now I was determined not to become a human pancake, so I had to think fast. The guy was tough. In his current lightning-charged state, I couldn't hurt him. And whatever that metal was on his hammer, it was too hard for me to damage. But I had a plan. I pulled off my ultimate move, the Destructo Disc. I swung it at him with all my might, and it soared through the air like a flying saucer of doom. He dodged it and threw his hammer as a counterattack. But that was what I planned on. My Destructo Disc made a U-turn and headed towards the hammer. You won't believe what happened next. The Destructo Disc sliced right through the handle of Thor's hammer. Mjolnir. Did you hear that? Thor's supposedly unbreakable weapon just got a haircut, courtesy of yours truly. Now that's what I call a killer barber. Mjolnir was now a drop top. Then when the God of Thunder saw that I had decapitated his beloved toy, he fell to his knees and shouted, Mjolnir! Then Yamcha and Goten started laughing even harder. Don't get me wrong, his reaction was funny, and I wanted to laugh too, but not in the guy's face. Well, as you can imagine, Thor was stunned, flabbergasted, and probably a little embarrassed too. With his weapon compromised, I took the opportunity to give Thor a taste of his own medicine. I dodged his lightning strikes, danced around him like a mosquito buzzing in his ear, and managed to land a few solid hits. It was like a dance-off. Without his hammer, he wasn't all that strong, and I finally decided to stop toying with him, and I landed a solid kick to his head and ended the battle. And just like that, my friends, I emerged the victor. Thor may have the muscles and the fancy hammer, but this bald warrior proved that when it comes to fighting, size doesn't matter. Well, except for the size of my pinky toe, because that thing still hurts, and it's throbbing, and it's a bit swollen. Thanks, Thor. After I hopped down from the stage, I found out that Superman had defeated his semifinal opponent, Captain Marvel. Goten came over and whispered in my ear, giggling like a schoolgirl. Look at him over there. He's crying like a baby because he had to beat up a girl. I'm not sure if you guys realize it or not, but teenage Goten is a bit of a jerk. Well, thanks for tuning in. Next time we'll see what happens when Krillin faces off against the Man of Steel. Will it be a mismatch or will he find a way to win? Hi guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. It's me, Krillin, the baddest of the bald, here to tell you the story of my battle with the Man of Steel, Superman. So if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and fasten your seatbelts because we're gonna experience some turbulence here. Okay, so I was face to face with the Man of Steel, and wow, his power level was insane. It didn't fluctuate like Goku or Vegeta, it was just there, all of it. And it was immense. In fact, just trying to sense it was painful. This guy was strong. I'd heard of his heroics and how he had saved the universe, and really would like to get his autograph. He was a true spectacle. I had to snap out of it so that we could do battle, because it was about to go down. I wondered why this legend of a hero was fighting in a tournament, and just before the fight I asked Goten. For whatever reason, the kid had all the gossip and loved to spill it. He told me that Superman was going through a nasty divorce. Lois Lane, his longtime girlfriend turned wife, had dumped him for his best frenemy and teammate, Batman. Apparently, Lois thought Superman was cheating with that Wonder Woman lady that got destroyed earlier in the tournament. So she tried to use Goku, of all people, to make Superman jealous. Well, that plan blew up in Lois's face when Chi-Chi showed up and beat her within an inch of her life. Chi-Chi would have probably killed her if Batman hadn't showed up. Shortly after he showed up as her Dark Knight in shining armor, she ditched the Boy Scout and went with the bad boy. Superman has since been on a mission to reinvent himself. He wants to buy nice cars and fancy clothes, plus Batman's lawyers helped Lois take Superman for all he was worth. So he really needed the money. I couldn't believe I was sitting there gossiping with Goten, but it was an interesting story. I tried to play it off and play off my interest in the story by saying, enough of the gossip, does he have a weakness? He told me,
yeah, something called kryptonite, but whatever you do, don't use your...
His phone rang before he could finish telling me, and the jerk went off and never finished his warning. So that brings us up to speed. I was nervous, more nervous than I had ever been before a battle. It would be like fighting Goku in the tournament at full power if we weren't friends. If things go wrong, this guy could really hurt me. Or even worse, I considered dropping out of the match, but I didn't want to hear 18's mouth. The referee told us to take our corners, the bell rang, and we came out swinging. From the very start, it felt like he was toying with me. He was letting me hit him. Plus, he wasn't hitting me all that hard. I could sense his power was probably as strong as Goku's, but it was like he was trying not to hurt me or something. If he wasn't swinging full force, I had no way to gauge his full strength and no way to devise a plan of attack. I had to make him mad. I didn't know enough about his mom for a good yo mama joke, so I had to hit him where it hurts with the only knowledge that I had. I managed to break away from him and use the distance between us and the break in the action to say, "Superman."
What? I'm kinda in the middle of pummeling you.
Okay, I'll let you get back to it, but I'm a huge fan, and I just had some questions, I responded. Now this guy had a super everything, including a super ego. He perked up when I fed him the lie about being a fan.
Okay, citizen. Anything for a fan.
Now I'm a citizen, I thought? Do you have super hearing?
Yes.
Do you have a super sense of smell?
You betcha.
Do you have supervision?
20 million. Ha ha ha.
So that thing with Batman and Lois, why didn't you see that coming? Goten fell out of the stands laughing, and Superman's face turned bright red. At first I thought it was embarrassment, and then I could tell it was pure unfiltered rage. He flew at me at the speed of light. I kid you not. This guy achieved the speed of light and hit me with 1 million punches in the span of no more than a second. It was insane. My ki augmented my durability just enough to withstand it.
How about another joke, Mr. Funny Man? Huh?
He taunted as he rained down punches so fast I had no means of defending them.
You know what? I was gonna take it easy on you and just push you out of the ring, but not now. You know what it's like always holding back? It's exhausting. Exhausting, I tell you.
His voice was cracking, almost as if he was about to cry. He was having a superpowered breakdown, and I was stuck in the middle of it.
I'm gonna hurt you now, man. You hear me, Lois? I'm gonna hurt, and it's all your fault. You too, Bruce. I thought we were friends.
So his psychotic episode was just too much for me, so I was planning to just hop off the stage and let him win the match.
Not so fast, Luthor.
What the heck? Why was he calling me Luthor? He appeared in front of me like something out of a scary movie, blocking my escape.
You thought I wouldn't recognize you?
Huh? Now this clown was hallucinating. He thought I was his arch nemesis, and now I had to fight. I centered myself and powered up. Now that I knew my life was in danger, I knew I couldn't hold back. I was at full power now. The battle intensified and we exchanged titanic blows. I was doing better, but clearly outmatched. Fortunately, he was still kind of holding back until Goten shouted out,
Lois was dating Lex Luthor too.
Suddenly, he unleashed the full breath of his power, every hit nearly killing me. I was weak and had nothing left. In a last-ditch effort to stop him from pounding me, I initiated a solar flare attack. Solar flare! As I was saying it, I could hear Goten scream out,
No!
but it was too late. It was weakened, but it had to work, or I had nothing else to try. Instead of its normal bright yellow, it was weakened and red like a dying star. My goodness, am I dying? I thought to myself. As Superman was bathed in the rays of my red solar flare, I could tell it didn't even slow him down. He flew towards me slowly, almost as if he was toying with me. He cocked back his hand, and I prepared for the worst. I just knew I was a goner. He swung it with all his might, holding nothing back, intent on ending the bout and my life. He was angry and didn't care if the blow was fatal. I didn't have the energy to dodge or the strength to block, so I took it to the face full force. Here it comes. The blow connected, and to my surprise, it was like getting hit by Yamcha or Chi-Chi at worst. What in the world was going on? Suddenly, I could hear Bulma shouting in the distance.
The red solar flare weakened him. Quick, knock him off the stage.
I wasted no time. First, I backhand slapped him for beating on me, and then I kamehameha'd him straight to Ohio. I won? I won the tournament. I had beaten the Man of Steel. It turns out if I had hit him with my full-powered solar flare, I would have been toast. Marin and 18 ran down to the ring to celebrate with me, and so did the rest of the Z Fighters. Goten had to ruin the moment when he said, if you hadn't have slipped up and bathed him with your gassed out solar flare, he would have murdered you. As we were celebrating, I saw Superman sitting alone, sulking in defeat. Chile came over and asked me what his deal was. I told her about him, and she never was one for shyness, so she went over and struck up a conversation with him. They hit it off, and they are still dating to this day. As for me, I've always been a background character. Good, but never the best. But in that moment, I was the champion of the multiverse. Oh, and I forgot to mention I did win $1 million from it. And that should keep 18 happy for a while. Well, guys, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you click like and subscribe. Until next time, stay super, continue to be awesome. Greetings, Krillin and Dragon Ball fans. Welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Today, we'll see what happens when I battle in the semifinal round of what my fans are starting to call the Master K Invitational. But before we get started, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit the notification icon for more exciting anime content. So, just a little recap. I was riding high after whooping Superman. I started wearing kryptonite studded earrings just in case he got the idea of coming to get some payback. Anyway, after that win, I was legit famous. Video game deals and music videos, you name it, I was the freaking man. I had no intentions of ever fighting again, but some chump called me out. I don't really have an ego like Vegeta or anything like that, so if Android 18 wasn't standing right there, I would have turned down that fight in a heartbeat. But she was there, and like a dummy, I accepted a fight with a freaking dog demon. I started out whooping the guy and impressing my wife and kid, until he got mad and turned into a Tasmanian devil on steroids and energy drinks. I had to use my Destructo disc and trick him like it was a frisbee and got him to go playing fetch to get him off of the stage so that I could advance to the next round. I can honestly say that was the first time I had ever been bitten during a tournament. Naruto won his match against Sonic the Hedgehog, so I had him next. Okay, so I'm not sure if the dog guy had rabies or something, but even with the sensu bean, the bites just weren't healing. So that last match still left me a bit injured. So I'm still in a whole bunch of pain. In fact, it even hurt to laugh. It was really hard to keep it in when Naruto was doing his pre-fight interview. When he spoke in Japanese, he sounded like a normal teenage boy. But when he spoke in English, I could tell something was a little bit off. Then out of nowhere, Goten shouted out, "Dude sounds like a lady."
Krillin, what the heck? Man, why you telling all my business?
You shouldn't have said it. I hope you lose Instagram followers. Wait a second, Goten. Get your finger out of your nose and how are you going to just shake Yamcha's hand like you didn't do anything? Anyway, I'm sorry. Saiyans are just really gross and nasty. Did you know that Vegeta jars his sweat and makes some kind of pickle beats? Oh, bruh, did he give you one of those?
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah, man, that's nasty. Anyway, I was still in pain. Apparently, kryptonite nullifies the powers of sensu beans, and I just wasn't healing. I had to fight this dude, badly injured, and I just wasn't feeling it. Plus, I heard this guy was another dog person. What if he bit me too? I steadied myself and tried to focus on my training. Then it dawned on me, I hadn't been training. I had been so focused on being a big shot and living in the limelight, I hadn't done much training at all. I had to get as much information on this guy as I could, so I went to my acne-faced, half-Saiyan Wikipedia page, Goten. Goten told me all about this guy.
Alright, so picture this, right? There's this kid named Naruto Uzumaki. He ain't a regular teenager or anything like that. He was born in a place called Konoha or something like that. Kind of a secret village filled with ninjas. Yeah, ninja's pretty crazy, right? Oh, so here's the crazy thing. When Naruto was born, there was this demon fox named Nine Tails, like Kyuubi or something like that. This thing had enough power to level mountains and create tsunamis. You know, it attacked the village, and as it was laying waste to everything. In order to save the village, Naruto's dad, who was actually the fourth Hokage, there's like a ninja president or something. You didn't know that, but I had to look it up myself. I didn't know it, but I looked it up. Decided to seal the Nine Tails inside his newborn son. It's kind of messed up, right? Unfortunately, doing so cost him his life and the life of his wife. So, Naruto, poor kid, grew up without any parents, and worse, didn't even know why everyone in the village seemed to hate him. They saw him as a demon fox. Nobody knew about the courageous act that his parents had done to save the village. Total bummer, right? But here's the thing about Naruto. He's not the kind of guy who lets things bring him down, you know? He's always upbeat, always cracking jokes, always getting into trouble. It wasn't easy, though. He started off being a pretty terrible ninja, but what he had over everyone was his determination and guts to never give up, not to mention he had that demon fox sealed inside him. And that would come in handy sometimes. The kid believed he could become a Hokage someday and be recognized by everyone in the village. He got into his ninja academy, made some friends, Sasuke and Sakura, formed some kind of special team. They ended up having kind of a love-hate relationship, but ultimately, they were kind of like a family. Add in this perverted sage gross, but not on Master Roshi's level. A crazy snake trying to destroy the village and even navigating a ninja world war. In between, this guy had it rough. Along the way, Naruto had to confront not just his enemies, but his own inner demon. Like literally, he had an inner demon. As he overcame hurdles and surpassed his limits, something shifted. The lonely, hated orphan found himself slowly recognized by those who feared and hated him initially. His infectious spirit, fierce loyalty, and unyielding willpower charmed not just his friends, but pretty much the whole world. The ninja world, at least, because I ain't never heard of him before I looked him up. So, that's Naruto. Not only did he learn to control this nine-tailed fox's power, but also brought peace to the ninja world, the ninja world, and achieved his dream of becoming a Hokage. His story is kind of a reminder we can be whatever we want to be. All that matters is how we finish up. And then he's got these shadow combs that make everything cool, and he likes to eat ramen. So he's a pretty cool guy. Actually, I'm kind of a fan. No offense, Krillin, I'm a fan of this fox guy.
After Goten finished telling me his story, I felt kind of bad for the guy, but I had to get ready anyway. I couldn't lose now. I didn't want to let 18 down. My mindset was changing. It was no longer simply about impressing 18. It was about proving to my family that I'm still a warrior at heart. I wanted Marin to know that even if she doesn't develop innate powers like her mom, she can still become a strong and fierce warrior, a doctor, a teacher, or whatever she wants to be. I didn't want my kid to feel as if she was somehow limited by her DNA. So the clock ticked down, and it was time to face another dog person. Well, excuse me, fox person demon this time. I stepped up onto the stage, more nervous than I should have been. It should have been an easy bout for me, but I was hurting. One bite in particular on my left ankle was giving me big problems. It made it difficult to put weight on my left side, and I was worried I wouldn't be able to stand my ground while firing a ki blast of any significant power. I had to shake away the fears as the announcer introduced us.
In this corner, hailing from the infamous Kame House Dojo, trained by the creepy old man, Master Roshi.
What the heck? What kind of announcer was this? Was he about to roast me?
We have this little bald-headed troll. This noseless wonder wears orange pajama bottoms and throws glowing frisbees. His kid is already taller than him, and his wife could do much, much better. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Krillin.
Biased as heck. Well, let me see what he says about this other guy.
And in the other corner, we have the talented, the magnificent, the wielder of the power of the nine-tailed fox, and the coolest Hokage ever, Naruto.
The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. What in the world was going on? Oh boy, this was shaping up to be one aggravating battle. I imagined if I let it come down to a decision, this guy would take it because he was like the crowd favorite or something. Now I've heard stories about his incredible power and flashy moves, but I'm not gonna let that intimidate me, no sir. As I stand there, ready to fight, Naruto pulls out all the stops, determined to show off his skills. He starts off by summoning a massive swirling energy thing. He charges at me with full force, but I'm no pushover. With a well-timed swift movement, I deflect his attack effortlessly, sending this thing flying off into the distance. Ha, nice try, Naruto. Not one to give up easily. Naruto gathers chakra and creates a dozen shadow clones. They surround me, each one ready to strike. But I'm too quick for them. I swiftly maneuver around them, dodging their blows. I launch a barrage of punches, knocking out each one of his clones one by one. It was like playing whack-a-mole, but with Shinobi. As I dusted one clone after another, I was met by boos and taunts. It didn't faze me though. I knew I deserved it for the taunting I did with Inuyasha and for butchering the pronunciation of everything in the story. However, as I'm taking out his minions, he sneaks up behind me and kicks me in the back of my head. It hurt for sure, but it was more like, come on bruh, in the back of the head. The force of the kick caused me to bite my tongue, and then I spit out a drop of blood, and the crowd went wild. They started cheering like crazy.
Yeah, it looks like you sprung a leak, old man.
For some reason, when he said that, the combination of the crowd, his words, and that smug look on his face was too much. I felt an explosion inside my gut. I could feel a strange energy surging through my body. It was frightening at first, but then I embraced it. I didn't realize it at the time. Goten told me later that my power surged to godlike levels. I had achieved a new transformation. On the outside, I looked the same, but I was radiating a strange energy, and all of my senses were heightened. I could hear everyone's conversations, everyone in the crowd, and the crowd that was once overwhelmingly in favor of Naruto was at least curious about me and ready to give me a chance. They had forgiven me for the childish antics that I had performed earlier when I was fighting against Inuyasha. Impressed by my skills, Naruto decided to up his game. He summoned a giant toad to aid him in battle. Now, I'll admit, it seemed like it was going to be a challenge, but I'm no ordinary martial artist either. I took a deep breath, channeled my energy, and unleashed the most powerful attack that I could come up with, which was my Destructo Disc. With a flick of my wrist, the razor-sharp disc slices through the air, cutting through the summoning scroll. The toad disappeared with a bewildered Naruto on top of it, crashing to the ground. Oops, somebody shouldn't have skipped their toad riding lessons. But Naruto is not one to back down. He jumps up, determined to prove himself. This time he channels an incredible nine-tailed chakra. He gathers his energy and forms this massive thing that was spinning with destructive energy. He threw it at me, and I decided to make things interesting. I quickly channeled my ki into my hands, creating a solar flare. Blinded by the intense light, Naruto loses focus, and this thing just dissipates. Tisk, tisk, Naruto, didn't anyone teach you not to stare into the sun? I made that cocky comment by accident. It just popped out. I was still in that mode and was expecting the crowd to rip me apart. But to my surprise, they started laughing and clapping and cheering. They were now on my side. Seeing that his flashy moves were failing him, Naruto tries a different approach. He activates Sage mode, his eyes turning into slits as he gains enhanced abilities. Now this is getting serious, but I'm not one to shy away from a challenge. I concentrate my energy and use my signature move, the Kamehameha wave. A tidal wave of blue energy blasts towards Naruto, pushing back the ground beneath him. Caught off guard, Naruto is engulfed in the blast, like a fish caught in a tsunami. And just like that, he was sent flying, leaving me victorious once again. Now things were getting interesting on the other side of the bracket. I was fully expecting to fight the World Breaker Hulk guy in the finals, but he had lost to some new guy no one had ever heard of. Goten had watched the fight, and he appeared shook by what he saw. Who in the world was this guy, and how was he so powerful that he made Goten nervous? And what was I supposed to do against him? So to find out who this guy is and how I do against him, make sure you stay tuned. Next week, we will conclude this tournament. Will I win? Who knows? I don't know who this guy is. It might get difficult. Greetings and welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Last time, I defeated Naruto and moved on to the finals of the Master K Invitational. A strange newcomer pulled off a major upset and beat the Hulk. Now, me and this guy are about to lock horns. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit the notification icon so that you won't miss any of our exciting content. Now, whoever this guy was, he had Goten spooked.
Krillin, that guy gave me the creeps. He was stone cold and motionless. The opponent he was fighting had limitless strength. Limitless, I tell you. But this guy had just enough speed and just enough strength to dodge and block everything that was thrown at him. The battle seemed pointless, as if the new guy was taunting him, and neither one of them could deal a finishing blow. The more he dodged and appeared uninterested in the fight, the angrier the behemoth got. As the beast raged on, he got faster and stronger. Eventually he landed a punch. The little guy should have been a goner. He was rocked but still standing. The punch did considerable damage to him and to the stadium, but instead of acting hurt, he seemed excited. It was like it was the moment he had been waiting for his entire life. The little guy sprang up and hit the green monster with such force, it sent shockwaves through the entire arena and the multiverse. I kid you not, the entire multiverse. It was so bad that King Kai hit me up telepathically to ask what the heck was going on. The green beast took the punch and barely flinched. This excited the new guy, and the two started trading blows at an insane pace. Their punches were starting to split the fabric of reality and cause strange anomalies throughout the arena. Only a few of us were able to see what was actually going on. It was kind of like the battle my dad told me about, between him and that other guy when he fused with Uncle Vegeta.
Come on, get to the point.
Okay. The battle raged on for hours, reaching the maximum allotted time. And so time was up, and now the battle's outcome will be in the hands of the judges. The decision was unanimous. The newcomer, Saitama, was declared the winner. This guy's insane. His power level rises so that he has whatever he needs to get the job done. It's like he has an army of riders constantly upgrading his powers. You're gonna have your hands full with this one.
Thanks, Goten. Superman was tough, but this guy would have smoked him, and he didn't have any known weaknesses. Plus, the World Breaker was the first being ever to take a punch full force from this guy without disintegrating or exploding into a hefty lump of gory goo. This guy was dangerous, and even worse, Goten had no information on him. He was a lower ranked hero from a no-name universe. He looked like the offspring of Charlie Brown and Superman, or worse, he could have been my kid. Just as I was about to step onto the stage, Superman ran up to me and said he had some information on the new guy. I have to admit, I was surprised. I wasn't really expecting help from the man who I'd made my career off of. Hey, Soups, I said, how have you been?
I've been great. After the tournament and my fight with Broly, things got rough, but Lois got so jealous of Kefla, she begged me to take her back. Kefla says she didn't mind adding one more person to her fusion, and now I have the ultimate woman.
I thought to myself, that's disgusting, but since Superman said he had information for me, I endured it.
Yeah, so the guy is strong. I can't tell exactly how strong, but the guy he beat is as strong as your friend Goku at his base levels, and also seems to have limitless power potential. The big green guy had a strength that seemed to rise infinitely in direct proportion to his rage. Now the bald guy, no offense, Saitama, made him madder than I'd ever seen him before. And the green guy still couldn't take Saitama out. The reason the two fighters ended in a stalemate that came down to a judge's decision is because their plot devices, I meant powers, canceled each other out. This newcomer with a blank stare seems to bear a power that flexes with the necessity of the moment. So let's say he were to face Yamcha, your friend. His power would violently surge just to the point of striking him with enough force to shatter him into oblivion, transforming him into these tiny little backup fighter particles. Now, should he take on Vegeta, that power would scale up to an unimaginable, multiversal shattering degree, enough to push back that overly pronounced Widow's Peak, cresting that sprawling forehead of his. Your only hope of averting defeat lies in the manipulation of your ki to outwit his power.
So there I was on the battlefield, locking eyes with the most intimidating being I had ever faced. His face held a stoic expression, his gaze impenetrable. How does one triumph over a foe like this, whose power is simply to always prevail?
Saitama, that's me, a professional hero. I'm a hero pretty much just for fun. I needed something to do with all of this idle time on my hands. The conundrum, however, is how simple it has become. Too easy for its own good. Day after day, spent in perpetual anticipation of a fitting challenge. Day after day, left with insipid disappointment. Of course I have friends, hobbies too, but yearnings for something more complex persist. Every so often, an audacious villain would emerge, touting their power as unstoppable, yet frustratingly, they are no match for a single punch from me. Can you imagine my frustration? Aspiring heroes approach me seeking guidance and training, and I'm baffled. I don't understand the origins of my own abilities. My training regimen was rigorous, yet no more so than a standard high school wrestling practice. I ached for a worthy challenge. When I was ushered towards this tournament, I agreed to participate, albeit reluctantly and with low expectations. The opponent, a towering green fellow, seeing nothing beyond the puny mortals I'd effortlessly crushed with one punch. This behemoth, however, was different. Genos, my trusted ally, explained the concept of the multiverse to me. He postulated that while an entity could be invincible in its own dimension, the same might not hold true across dimensions. My strength, on the other hand, seemed to transcend dimensions, enabling me to hold my own the same here as I did back home. Some were not as fortunate. Take, for instance, this so-called god of war, Kratos, or however you say his name. He was humiliated by a peculiar fellow named SpongeBob. When my hulking green adversary transformed, he seemed to draw mass from an alternate universe, bestowing upon him a power consistency across the multiverse. We were evenly matched, and in that moment, I've never felt more alive. A particularly fierce blow landed, and I teetered on the brink of loss. It was exhilarating. There was an unmistakable shift in the energy dynamics, as though we were evolving to meet each other's intensity. Neither of us seemed to be approaching our thresholds. Irritatingly, time was our only enemy. As for this noseless contender I'm supposed to face, I don't anticipate much more of a challenge than I might face from a small child. Despite appearances, however, I remain hopeful.
So Superman's information wasn't much help, but it was something, and I kind of had a plan, but it was still going to be really hard to pull off. The plan was nuts. I had to let One Punch Man punch me. It was the best idea I could come up with, so here I was in the finals bout against another unstoppable force. So I thought to myself, you got this, Krillin. You've been here before. But who was I kidding? This was what Inuyasha was talking about when he said he had guys that will put Superman to shame. I took a deep breath and prepared myself, The announcer introduced us and the bell rang, signaling the start of the fight. I powered down with no ki augmenting my strength or durability. I slapped the guy as hard as I could, and then I started roasting him. I told him his costume made him look like a really reliable fry cook at McDonald's. I thought it was funny, but I warned you guys about my dad jokes. He was unfazed. I wanted to make him mad because I needed him to hit me at full force to see if my plan had any chance of working. Either it would work or my life would end and it would be over so fast that I wouldn't know that it didn't. No matter how much trash I talked, I couldn't get to this guy. Nothing seemed to bother him. Then I realized this guy was only looking for a challenge. So I said, hey, look, I need you to hurry up and fight me so I can knock you out and move on to the real challenge.
I couldn't believe it. This guy just slapped me, like he was challenging me to a duel or something. From the hit, I could tell he wasn't super strong, but it felt like he was holding back, and not that it mattered. Then he mentioned that he was trying to rush past me to get to the real challenge. I was so curious to see what that was that I swung at this guy pretty much at full force.
So he swings, and I knew I had to time it just right. As the punch flew through the air, I remained powered down. Then when it made initial contact with my face, I stayed powered down. It wasn't until the full force of the strike started to land that I powered up. It hurt like heck, but his initial strength was only enough to obliterate me in a depowered state. My ki was enough to withstand it. I survived his punch, and now it's time to fight. Come on, let's get it, Baldy.
So it was a strange feeling to hit this guy and have him not turn into goo. I was a little upset at first because the dad joke had really ticked me off. But then I got excited. Was this the challenge that I'd been looking forward to? I know him surviving my punch was some sort of a trick or a technique, but I knew I would have to step my game up.
So the battle was heating up. He was insanely fast and strong but untrained, so I could dodge and land hits. But if I knew a punch was coming and about to make contact, I knew I could power down and quickly amp back up to survive. The only problem was doing so was exhausting. We were only 30 minutes into the fight and I was freaking tired. But this freaking guy wasn't even sweating. The battle was intense. He was unbelievably fast, and it seemed like he had infinite energy. His power was beyond comprehension, and if I hadn't witnessed it for myself, I would have thought somebody was playing a trick on me. My hits had no effect on him, so my only option was to try and outlast him and hope for a judge's decision in my favor. As the fight continued, I noticed two important weaknesses in Saitama. First, he couldn't fly. Despite his incredible speed and agility, he was bound by the laws of gravity. Second, he had no long-range attacks like ki blasts. I quickly took advantage of this. I took to the sky and bombarded him with ki blasts, but he dodged them all, refusing to let me touch him. The crowd erupted into cheers. I couldn't see much through the dust and debris, but I assumed they were cheering for me because of the amazing light show I was putting on. When the dust settled, I realized I had been wrong about the crowd's reaction. Saitama was now hovering above the ground, and to my surprise, his hands were glowing as if he had learned to fly and mastered ki manipulation just in the span of a few seconds. The crowd went wild, and I closed my eyes and I was just about ready to accept defeat. Suddenly, I heard the sound of sleigh bells in the distance. The noise grew louder and louder, and as I opened my eyes, I saw Saitama being blasted off the stage by a peculiar red and green ki blast. I felt a moment of relief, but it was short-lived as the same assailant then blasted me. It was clear we were under attack, and everyone in the arena was in danger. Welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Last time I was just about to put the finishing touches on a knuckle sandwich with extra hot sauce on your boy Saitama.
That's Cap.
Goten, shut up, man. You're just aggravating. Okay, so the fight was almost over. Are you happy now? Is that better, you little brat? Suddenly I heard sleigh bells, and then someone blasted One Punch Man just as I was about to slap the taste out of his mouth.
You were losing.
Chi-Chi, you better come get this little boy. Okay, so I was headed over to help the little fella when I got sneak attacked too. I was still powered down, so it hurt pretty bad. As I started to regain my composure and my vision started to clear, I could see an army of elves coming into focus. They were advancing fast and it was clear they weren't friendly. I was too weak to fight and they were about to converge on me when all of a sudden, through the dust and rubble, an army of Naruto's shadow clones came marching to my rescue. These guys were moving at incredible speeds, taking the elves out one by one. But these things just kept coming and coming. We were being overwhelmed. Then I heard a shout, "Wind Scar," or something like that. A whirlwind swept a large group of these vile beasts away. There were still too many, and we were about to be overtaken, and then the audience would have been next. I dug deep, stood to my feet, and shouted to Goten to get the crowd to safety. He and Superman worked together, using their otherworldly speed to clear the stands. Once everyone was safe, Goten and Superman returned along with Android 18. They left Marin with Yamcha. Yeah, I know, who leaves a kid with Yamcha? We didn't know it at the time, but we were caught in the middle of a millennia-old battle. A battle between elemental forces of good and evil. At the dawn of creation, two beings were created, Kringle and Krampus. Both were very powerful angels. These beings watched over creation. They weren't the first angels or the most powerful, but they served a very specific purpose, to watch over the multiverse. Kringle had a genuine love for mankind, while Krampus was filled with jealousy and hatred towards mortals, wanting to destroy them all. Krampus was imprisoned by the Archangel Michael and Kringle at the order of the Creator himself after a plot to overthrow the kingdom of heaven was uncovered. Krampus had escaped and was seeking revenge, and we were stuck in the middle of it. Krampus was a celestial being with insane power, and he had elves, each powerful enough to destroy a city, and he had thousands of them. Krampus, the fallen angel turned demon who had adopted the moniker Evil Santa, had one objective: to kill as many mortals as possible. Everyone in the multiverse had heard of Santa Claus, but not many had heard of Krampus. No one knew that both were real, and one had the power and desire to end existence. The tale of jolly old Saint Nick, a fat man who broke into people's houses and gave them presents, was based on the actions of Kringle. Krampus watched from his icy prison in disgust as his brother grew in popularity. His hatred swelled and he yearned for an opportunity to seek revenge for the fate that he was now languishing in, and on his brother for choosing a bunch of meat bags over him. He was powerful and even more evil. As we started to make progress in taking out his elves, Evil Santa came into focus. He looked like Santa, kind of, but more like a Saint Nick on steroids. Superman was the first to attack, and he was quickly swatted away like a bug. Lokefla caught him.
Oh no, not my baby. Please don't let him have a scratch.
She was relieved to see that he was okay. Next, 18 and I launched a coordinated attack. I fired a solar flare, and 18 followed up with a kick to Krampus's throat. Our attack was met with a barrage of punches, and our expedition ended as quickly as it started. Goten then powered up the Super Saiyan Blue. I knew the kid had it in him. Now, this was shaping up to be an awesome battle. Goten, however, had to ruin the moment by scratching his butt and burping right after the transformation.
Mom, Krillin's talking crap about me.
Oh boy, my bad. Sorry, Chi-Chi. Anyway, the battle was epic. Goten reminded me so much of his dad in that moment. He dodged and landed strikes on the beast and looked like he was going to beat Krampus, until Krampus shouted out,
"Enough! I will not be defeated by a foolish child. You butthead, you moron. You still have Taki residue on your fingertips, and it's smeared on your nose. Were you picking your freaking nose? You didn't even have the decency to wash your filthy little hands before engaging in battle with me. You've got some nerve, and you've got some of that orange stuff on my arm, and it reeks of your spit. You insolent brat, you will now witness my final form."
With that, his power began to surge, and he was becoming even more ripped.
Ha 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 ha, now witness my truth.
Before he could finish his transformation, Goten blasted him right in his face. I mean, the kid is just rude. Who interrupts somebody's final form transformation? My brother-in-law, who in his defense is a freaking robot, did it once, but Goten should have known better. Between you and me, I'm kind of glad he did it though. It didn't really stop the transformation, but that mess was hilarious. The look of disappointment on Krampus's face was priceless. He quickly regained his composure.
You disrespectful little brat, you will pay.
He quickly finished his transformation and blasted Goten out of the arena. It was that same red and green ki blast that had hit Saitama. Then I realized we hadn't seen Saitama since the battle started, and we could really use his help right now. I couldn't sense his energy, so I feared the worst. Goten wasn't returning. I knew he was alive because I could still sense his energy, but I could tell he was hurt, and we needed him.
Well, Santa had just sneak attacked me, and I was like, what the heck? I knew Krillin was short, but was he an actual elf? I didn't realize it at the time. He was also under attack. The blast had pushed me into an alternate universe, so to get back, I had to start punching holes in the fabric of space and time.
Now how strong must this evil Santa be? He took out Goten, Saitama, Superman, and now Lokefla was just useless. Apparently adding Lois Lane to the fusion made the being less of a warrior and more of a, I don't really know what to describe her as. As soon as she got Superman to safety, she hightailed it out of there. It was just me, 18, Naruto, and Inuyasha. Inuyasha and Naruto teamed up and began battling the demonic elves. Evil Santa opened a portal and hordes of additional creatures were arriving, but Naruto and Inuyasha were decimating their numbers. Those guys worked so well together. Naruto pulled out all the stops. I mean, dude was sending out coordinated ninja strikes with his army of shadow clones. The duo then went through their most powerful transformations. Inuyasha went full demon and Naruto went full on sage mode. 18 and I went after the big boss, Evil Santa. We knew we had to avoid his ki blast or we would be toast.
I feel so bad about all of this. I really just wanted Krillin to get a new job. I was kind of joking about the tournament, but when Krillin entered and won, I was really proud of him. But everything, the fame, the money, started to get to his head. As the battle raged on, I just wanted him to be safe. I didn't care about the money anymore.
So things were getting serious. 18 and I were doing all we could to survive. But this guy was so powerful. He could have destroyed the entire multiverse without even hesitating or without having to think about it. We kept alive by dodging and counterattacking, but he caught on to our tactics. He timed it just right and blasted 18. The impact knocked her to the ground. She was alive, but just barely. That was the spark. Something inside of me shifted, a switch was flipped. I felt the power surge again. I flew at the guy and just started pummeling him. I was winning. I had went my own version of Super Saiyan. I was just about to deal a final blow when the dude said,
Not so fast, Trumbull, and soil yourself as you witness my final form.
Okay, first of all, what the heck? Final form? Could he have thought of something better than that? I mean, it just sounded goofy and ridiculous, but whatever. He didn't even look any different, but man, did his power skyrocket. He started laughing hysterically and explained how now that this final form was unlocked, he was going to destroy the multiverse. He didn't care about consequences. He was just going to destroy it all. He was making a pretty intimidating speech when all of a sudden he exploded. And I was covered in this disgusting clump of these disgusting clumps of Santa goo. I looked and I saw Saitama standing there looking insane.
Sorry it took me so long. I just got back. And I kind of thought that guy was with you. My bad. Anyways, are you guys okay? Okay. So I finally made it back to the tournament, and the place was a wreck. People were laid out everywhere. Now the two dog demon guys were fighting elves. It was like a really weird dream or something. Then I saw the dude who zapped me about to attack my opponent, so I hit him. I wasn't sure what the punch would do in this dimension, but I did it anyway. And wouldn't you know it, the guy exploded. I was glad I had saved the multiverse. But when the guy exploded, he got pieces of his ear stuck to my shirt, and it was gross. Anyway, I was ready to finish the fight.
So I stood there and watched in awe as this being that took out Goten, Superman, and 18 just got exploded in one punch. Then the guy who did it had the nerve to ask me if I wanted to finish the fight. I told him, heck no. And he responded, bummer, and just flew off. He just flew off. 18 woke up and said, you did it. You beat him, my hero. I almost thought about trying to take the credit, but I had learned my lesson. I wish I had got the guy's number. He and Goku would have had a blast sparring. I guess there's no way to fully understand the guy's power. Maybe it rises in proportion to the evil that he faces. Either way, I'm glad he's on our side. And maybe I can set up a chance for him to spar with Goku in the immediate future. Or maybe that'll be his Christmas present if we haven't ruined Christmas. Welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Last time, I was in the finals of another multiversal tournament, and I ran into Saitama, the unstoppable one-punch man. We didn't get to finish our battle. Lucky for him, because an evil Santa attacked us. Yep, you heard it right, an evil Santa. If you haven't watched that video, I hope that you'll take the time to go back and check it out. So without further ado, let's pick up right where we left off. The one-punch guy was flying away. Yeah, dude had figured out how to fly. Then I yelled out, hey, wait, I have a real challenge for you. He came back down and I gave him Goku's address and phone number. I told him it's best just to stop by because my friend is brilliant on the battlefield, but dumb as a rock when it comes to technology. He still hasn't figured out how to work his phone. So I had just set up an early Christmas present for Goku. I said goodbye to Naruto and Inuyasha, and I offered them both features in my next music video, and I promised that we would collaborate in the future. For now, I was done with fighting, and I was ready to get into the Christmas spirit. Suddenly, my peace was interrupted.
The dude just killed Santa.
Goten, you knucklehead, he was trying to kill us and everyone in the arena.
He didn't have to kill him. Now, I'm definitely gonna be on the naughty list, and I hope you are too. When?
You are such a baby. So the only thing I wanted for Christmas was a pair of purple and yellow Nike Dunks. My main focus was Marin and 18, and I wondered what they wanted. So I started snooping around trying to figure out what would be the perfect gift. I figured out my best bet was to check the search history on 18's phone. I unlocked the phone. The pin was easy. It was 18, 18, 18. And in my defense, I told her to change it. She is surprisingly non-tech savvy for a robot. As I was looking through the search history, I see that she's been researching a lot about vacation spots. So I just kind of figured maybe that was what she wanted. She had a few strange searches that I should have been concerned about. One was about how not to get caught by your husband, whatever that was about. That one should have really concerned me, and I was just about to investigate it as a message ding ding. I hesitated to read it because I knew I really shouldn't, but curiosity got the best of me, and I read the message. What I saw made my heart sink. It was a chat between her and a guy named M. And it read, this is 18 talking. Hey, M, are you still ready for tonight? And then M responds, you bet, I can't wait to see you. I had to stop reading because it was too much. Was 18 trying to dump me for this M guy? Was she cheating on me? I had to find out. It was bound to happen sooner or later. Shut up, man. Ooh. Just be quiet. Just be quiet. Anyway, that's how it all started. This nosy moment from a guy with no nose set off a chain of events that could have destroyed Christmas and all of reality. So I was hurt. In that moment, I felt so betrayed. So I set out on a mission that would take me on a wild adventure through time. I decided that I would follow Android 18 to her 9 p.m. yoga. I know a robot doing yoga sounds suspicious, and I should have asked questions sooner, but you're an adult who probably watches cartoons, so who are you to judge? Anyway, I followed her. There are a couple of things I didn't realize. One, Krampus was still alive. When Saitama punched him, his goo flew everywhere. A small piece landed on my gi. When I went home, I did wash my gi. I promise, I did wash it, but a small piece managed to survive the wash and began to reform. The other thing I didn't realize was the dude possessed a transdimensional ki blast that could send its victims through time and space, and that would come into play later. The cool night air rushed past me as I soared through the sky, silently trailing Android 18, my stomach churning with suspicion. The glow of the moon illuminated her figure as she exited the house to drive off, headed towards her 9 p.m. yoga practice. Doubt gnawed at me, fueled by the suspicious message on her phone from someone with the initial M. My mind raced with thoughts of infidelity. I couldn't shake the worry that she might be cheating on me. As I flew through the clouds, a sudden burst of energy caught my attention. Goten, the ever-curious teenager, had tagged along without me noticing. After landing, we found a place to hide and observe. Goten's eyes gleamed with excitement, and I motioned for him to be quiet. We hid in the shadows, watching Android 18 gracefully move through her yoga routine. Everything seemed normal, just a peaceful yoga session in a pretty average-looking gym. As we watched from outside under the starry sky, Goten's attention, however, wavered between yoga poses and the other ladies in the gym. I shot him a stern look, reminding him of the gravity of the situation. As the practice concluded and I trailed 18 from above as we headed home, relief washed over me. Perhaps my suspicions were unfounded. However, just as I was about to let my guard down, she made an unexpected detour. My heart pounded in my chest as she drove into a posh neighborhood that I didn't recognize. Unable to resist the need for answers, I descended to the ground with Goten in tow. We silently followed her to a magnificent house, our eyes widening at the sight of its grandeur. Questions filled my mind, and my worry intensified. She entered the house, ushered by a short blonde fellow, who I couldn't tell if he was an adult or a child. He was definitely shorter than me. I exchanged a puzzled glance with Goten. The air was thick with tension as I cautiously approached, concealing myself behind a corner. Peeking around, I strained to catch a glimpse of what was happening inside. To my surprise, Android 18 emerged with a smile, chatting amicably with a group of people. My heart sank as I grappled with conflicting emotions. Had I been wrong all along? Was this some innocent gathering? As they dispersed, Android 18 made her way back to the car, leaving the mysterious house behind. Goten nudged me, his eyes wide with curiosity. I couldn't deny the nagging doubts, but at the same time, I questioned the validity of my suspicions. The night air grew colder as we trailed her once more, our minds clouded with uncertainty, the truth that remained elusive. And as we flew through the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that the answers that I sought were still hidden in the shadows.
Why are you trying to sound all dramatic all of a sudden? You sound like a bootleg version of that guy who did the narrating for The Twilight Zone.
Goten, shut your mouth before I knock you out.
You do realize I could probably kick the crap out of you.
True, but then I tell your mom about those pictures of your Aunt Boma. Dude, you're gross. She's like family, and she's your best friend's mom. You're just gross, man.
Okay, chill, man, chill.
Anyway, I kept getting this nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right with my wife, Android 18. It was a gut feeling that had been gnawing at me, telling me that she might be seeing someone else behind my back. I've never thought that I would end up being that type of guy to feel this way, but here I am, filled with doubt and insecurity. I noticed her being more secretive with her phone lately, and there have been times where she was quick to get quiet on her phone calls whenever I entered the room. I'm not a jealous person by nature, but these things were starting to add up and making me worry. I couldn't shake the feeling any longer, so I made up my mind to confront her. I decided to come straight out and to ask her about what was bothering me. I needed to know if my intuition was true or if I was just being paranoid. As I was getting ready to talk to her, I couldn't help but wonder if I should just confront the guy I suspected that she was cheating with. The little blonde guy was short. Maybe she just liked short dudes and she was done with old Master K. I couldn't shake the thought that maybe she was seeing this little twerp of a fellow behind my back. So I'm standing out in front of our house. Just as I'm contemplating how to handle this, I felt a sudden rush of energy behind me. Before I knew it, a powerful key blast hit me from behind and everything went black. Now, if I hadn't been so distracted by my paranoid thoughts, then I would have saw this coming a mile away. But no, I was distracted and here we are. And so everything went black. When I came to, I found myself in a place unlike anything I'd ever seen before. The sky was a different shade of blue and the landscape looked unfamiliar. Goten was lying next to me and he was also out cold. I couldn't help but wonder what had just happened. My confusion only grew when I saw a figure approaching us. As the figure drew closer, I saw that it was a man with spiky hair and an intense gaze. He introduced himself as Meliodas, the captain of the 7 deadly sins. He explained to us that we had been blasted back in time and into a different universe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Now, I had experienced the multiverse. I've been to a bunch of different universes, but time travel was foreign to me. I knew it existed, but it was foreign to me. I'd never been through time. The Meliodas guy looked familiar, and I realized that it was the little twerp that I saw with Android 18. Suddenly, I found myself overcome with rage. I wasted no words and drew back and smacked old boy like he was a disobedient circus monkey. Nah, just kidding. I would never smack a monkey. I would never do it. And if you did, you should turn yourself in right now, you sociopath. But nah, this dude had it coming. So I slapped him so hard that his homeboy got a concussion.
Krillin, you are capping. You were all polite and scary. You didn't even confront him until weeks later, dude.
Okay. Hey, Chi-Chi, check your email in like 5 minutes. I'm gonna forward you some stuff off of Goten's computer.
Man, chill.
Well, shut up then. So after I smacked dude, he told us that we were in this universe and we were in the midst of a war between demons and goddesses. It was hard to wrap my head around all of this, but at the same time, I felt a strange sense of excitement. This was an adventure unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. We decided to stick close to Meliodas and the other members of the 7 deadly sins, and I found myself getting caught up in the battles in quest. It was a thrilling and dangerous world, but it was also a world where I felt like I had a purpose. I was fighting alongside these powerful warriors, and for the first time in a while, I felt like I was a part of something bigger than myself. The last several battles I had were all about making money and making a name for myself, and this felt like it had an actual purpose. But as much as I was enjoying this new world, I couldn't shake off the concern about Android 18. I was still troubled by the thought of her cheating on me, and even more urgent, I didn't know what had blasted me. It was like a dark cloud hanging over my head, and it was hard to ignore even in the midst of all the chaos and adventure. Meanwhile, back in my own time, Bulma and Android 18 were hard at work figuring out what had happened to me. Whis and Beerus witnessed the attack, and Beerus quickly confronted the attacker, Krampus. The battle between Krampus and Beerus was fierce, but ultimately Beerus prevailed and was able to restrain Krampus. Whis made sure to let Beerus know that he had struggled a bit with a weakened opponent and needed to train more. Krampus was severely weakened after reforming and would take time to fully regain his strength. Whis restrained his hands and bubbles to keep him from using his transdimensional ki blast. Whis knew who this guy was, and he knew that he was a being that existed outside of the multiverse that we knew. He was spawned from a being that was more powerful than Zeno, and that terrified Beerus. Who else was out there, he wondered. As the combatant was detained, Bulma and 18 questioned him about my whereabouts. What I didn't realize is that future Meliodas was trying to warn 18 about me being sent back in time. I was enjoying the battles with Meliodas, but eventually I had to ask, man, are you messing around with my girl? He clearly had no idea what I was talking about, so I really didn't have to slap the demon out of him, but I most definitely was ready to do so. The weakened Krampus was a coward and told Beerus everything, or so we thought. He told him where I was and Bulma had to work quick or I was going to be stuck in time. What I didn't realize was that the fact that Krampus was a prime dimensional being, he had a consciousness that transcended time, at least into the past. He could initiate communication with his past self to a certain extent. He couldn't change the future, but if someone were unlucky enough to get sent back in time, he could use a past version of himself to attack that person. And in the time I was stuck in, he was at his prime and strong enough to seek revenge for him. And in the time that I was stuck in, he was at his prime and strong enough to seek revenge for his future self. And as luck would have it, the Krampus from that timeline found me. Meliodas and I squared up for what would be an epic battle, the battle of our lives. Krampus couldn't send messages, words, or pictures back to himself, but what he could send was feelings. And the feelings that he projected to his past self were intense feelings of hatred for me. He didn't realize that Saitama was the one that struck him and splattered him all over the planet. He thought it was me and he wanted to make me pay. Whis knew exactly who this guy was. He knew that it was a being that came from outside of our multiverse. He knew that he was spawned from a being that had created all universes, a being that was even more powerful than Zeno. And Beerus was starting to realize that this concern etched across Whis' face was something that he needed to be worried about as well. Beerus quickly decided that they needed to get the information that they could from this guy and take him out quickly, because if he regained full power, he would be a force to be reckoned with.
I have no idea what that little bald troll was talking about. I had no concern whatsoever about this guy. I wasn't even fighting him at full power. If I had done so, I would have destroyed this guy in one attack, easily. No worries here whatsoever.
Yeah, I would argue with him on this, but even though I don't believe him, I can't really say that because he could just blow up my planet. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Next time, we will see what happens when I go up against this guy at full power. I haven't done that yet. I'm starting not to like Christmas anymore. Hey guys, welcome back to Crawford Farms Entertainment. Well, it looks like I got myself into another mess. Last time, I thought Android 18 was cheating on me. I got so distracted by my suspicions that I didn't notice someone was trailing me. Krampus, aka Ugly Roid Head Santa, blasted me from behind and sent me hurtling through space and time with his little funky trans-dimensional key blast. If you haven't watched that one, please make sure you take time to check it out so the rest of this makes sense and you don't think I'm just crazy. Alright, let's get into it. So after Beerus put the screws to Krampus, he spilled the beans on my location, and Bulma had to act fast or I'd be trapped in time forever. Little did I know, Krampus, being a prime dimensional being, had a consciousness that transcended time, reaching into the past. He couldn't alter the future, but if someone found himself flung back in time, he could manipulate past versions of himself for an attack. During my time-stuck predicament, he was in his prime, strong enough to seek revenge for his future self. Fate, or rather bad luck, had it that Krampus from that timeline that I was stuck in tracked me down. Meliodas and I faced off for what promised to be the fight of our lives. Krampus couldn't send messages to his past self, but he could project feelings, and the overwhelming hatred he projected towards me made my situation dire. Unbeknownst to me, he never witnessed Saitama's strike that finished him off. He thought it was me, and he thirsted for revenge. As Krampus was about to lay waste to us, the Archangel Michael descended, taking a stand between us. Krampus was formidable, but he ain't want that smoke. Gazing in awe at the Archangel Michael, I pondered who in our universe could match his might. Goku, Black Frieza, Broly, Vegeta, or maybe Beerus. It was hard to say. Now, Krampus protested.
You're not permitted to intervene. This is outside of your jurisdiction. The Baldwin is not from this timeline, and therefore you can't interfere.
Firstly, that sounded like a load of crap he just made up. Secondly, if he was right, I was toast. Michael declared, "You may not harm the child." What the heck? Does dude think that I'm a child or something? Krampus replied,
Allow me to challenge him for the fate of his universe.
I thought you heard the man. You can't harm me, so shut the... I'll allow it. What? Krampus snarled.
I don't know you, little one, but I can't stand you, little bald-headed.
No cursing. Krampus continued.
But even though I don't know you, or what you did to me in the future, you will pay. You will be sent through various points in your timeline, and you will have to prevail against all who struck fear in your heart. If you lose, your universe is mine.
What the heck? Who was this creep going to make me fight? I had no desire to face anyone from my past. The reason I felt like a loser and always wanted to prove myself was because of my losses. Heck, I even lost my life in battle to some of those guys. It was extremely traumatic. I had to dig deep because if I didn't find a way to win, everyone I loved would be destroyed. So I had to suck it up and prepare myself for the most traumatic experience imaginable. Suddenly, I found myself in an arena. It was massive, and on one side, thousands of elves, evil elves, and demonic creatures filled the stands, clearly rooting for my defeat. Their hatred for me was so intense it made me sick. On the other side, angelic beings wanted me to win, emanating warmth and happiness that got me hyped. My short-lived confidence was shattered when Vegeta, the prince of all Saiyans, stepped into the ring. I had hoped us being somewhat friends, I might be able to reason with him to let me win. I stepped onto the floor, and just before we touched fists, a symbolic gesture of sportsmanship, a prelude to the impending battle, I whispered to Vegeta, "Hey, if I don't win, they're gonna destroy our universe." He responded with a cold, "Good." What in the world? The dude didn't care if his wife and kids died. Something was off with him. I thought that maybe if he stayed in his base form, I would have a chance. But who was I kidding? This was freaking Vegeta. The bell rang and the fight began. Despite not being much bigger than me, he was intimidating. He swung and I braced for the impact, ready to meet my end. But to my surprise, it didn't hurt. The first time I encountered Vegeta, way back in the day, his power level was like 18,000. Mine was just under 2,000 back then. Now mine had surpassed the point where we stopped calculating power levels. By now it was like a billion or who knows by comparison, I don't know. It was time for payback. I cocked back and slapped him. Not a technique, just an open hand smack to the face. Then I tossed him in the air and threw a destructive disc at him. Now this is the funny part, right? So it flew, and I timed it and aimed it just right, so it cut off the creepy little widow's peak off of his forehead. Then on its return, it sliced the top of his hair, giving him a flat top. I teased and taunted, settling the score for trauma he had inflicted on me in the past. The demonic creatures, for whatever reason, they started to cheer. They loved it, and the angels wore this disappointed expression on their face. Looking at Vegeta, I saw deep sorrow in his face. He was ashamed and humiliated. Suddenly, I felt remorse. This was the guy that had killed thousands, possibly millions or billions. Why did I suddenly feel remorse? Thinking back, on the other end of it, he had also saved billions of lives as well. My heart wrenched, and in that moment, I knew how I needed to finish the fight. Vegeta was raised to kill, and he had experienced extreme childhood trauma, always trying to live up to an unrealistic expectation, probably imposed by his father. I grabbed his hand and told him, "One day you'll be the strongest being in the multiverse," and gently tossed him out of the ring. The demons booed, the angels cheered. If I continued to toy with Vegeta, his power would have kept rising, and I would have been toast. The pattern was becoming goofier, like some sappy Christmas special, but I wasn't having it. I decided I was going to give the business to whatever opponent I faced next, or so I thought. I had wondered if it would go in chronological order, if they would jumble everything up for some preachy plot line. I had a few moments to rest before my next battle. Fortunately, the first battle was fairly easy and I wasn't too tired. Now, Perfected Cell stepped onto the stage. What in the world? I thought this guy was tough, but there was no way he was a match for me now, or was he? I could sense his power was high, possibly still higher than mine. I had to win because the fate of the universe hung in the balance. The demons were even rowdier than before, and one shouted, "Fight!" With that, Cell came out swinging. I dodged and attempted to counter, but he caught my arm and tossed me, nearly throwing me out of the ring. I had almost lost. He knew all my moves and learned and adapted very quickly. I couldn't toy around with him. I powered up, augmenting my every strike with my ki. My determination had always been my greatest strength, so when I decided that defeat was not an option, I turned it up a notch. I had a plan. I tossed a Destructo disc at Cell, and he dodged it as planned. My disc circled back and cut off part of his tail. The cocky little creep let me do it because he knew that it would instantly regenerate, and he wanted to take away my fighting spirit, I guess, who knows. But as soon as that piece of his tail dropped, I grabbed it and threw it out of bounds. The angels erupted in celebration, and the demons were furious. I was declared the winner. All I needed was part of his body to go out of bounds to win the fight. I wasn't even sure if that was the rule here, but it was worth a try and it paid off. I stood there caught between two opposing sides of cheers and boos, contemplating who I might battle next. I hoped it wouldn't be something goofy like having to fight a past version of my wife, Android 18. Krampus was ringside arguing with his brother Kringle and Michael.
You bunch of no good cheaters. Why would he have been so scared of those guys? You set me up. I'm telling.
Like for real, who was he gonna tell? He was heated, not anticipating how much I had grown as a fighter and as a person. I was starting to realize it myself. Just as I was feeling better about myself, my next opponent stepped in. It was freezing. My knees got weak. This guy had caused me to suffer like no other, and I was terrified. He stepped to the center of the ring and said, "Well, you are fairly strong, so I'll cut right to the chase. I'll give you a taste of my full power. If you were wearing your goofy little scouter, the power level would read 120 million. As he said that, it was clear he thought that was going to impress somebody. I don't know what they told him before they pulled him into the fight, but someone should have told him to keep that a secret. And then Krampus was ringside and he said,
What in the world? This guy's weaker than the other one. What kind of crap are you guys trying to pull?
Michael and Kringle sat next to him. The angel started laughing and the demon started booing. Frieza stood there with a look of utter disappointment on his face. It was not the reaction he was expecting. He was not used to being the weakest dude in the room. I knocked him out of the ring in the most respectful way I could think of, a swift kick to the throat. The angels were ecstatic and the demons were ticked. Next they sent out Kid Buu. He was strong, but the version I was fighting was from a time before he had absorbed everyone. I guess you could say his power level would have been 40 billion by comparison, but with my perfected ki state, that really wasn't a challenge either. When I was in the Forest of Terror, I was probably knocking on the 1 trillion mark. I easily defeated him. Let me tell you, Krampus was upset. The angels had played him. They knew how much my strength had grown. All Krampus could tell is that I was deeply afraid of all of them at some point. I felt powerful in that moment, truly strong. I had proven to myself that I was no longer a slave to my regrets and doubts of the past. I could move forward. Suddenly, the arena fell into a hush, and I could feel power like I had never experienced before. I mean, this was insane. This made Zeno look weak. A being floated towards me with an aura so bright I couldn't gaze upon him. As he moved towards me, I had never felt so at peace. I could tell that whatever was moving towards me was not a threat. In fact, the thing loved me. So I was like, yeah, this is nice, but what in the world is happening? Suddenly it spoke, or he spoke. Krillin, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, aka the freaking GOAT. What's up, my dude? I am so proud of you. Not what I was expecting, but okay. So your girl Android 18 prayed for you. She could tell you were going through like a midlife crisis or something. So I set things in motion. after that other bald dude splattered Krampus. Now, I'm pretty sure I made dude, but I don't even know why. Just kidding. But be careful around him. He is freakishly strong. Anyway, I wanted you to know that you're more than your past defeats, and you're better than your worst moments. Your potential as a fighter and as a husband and a father is limitless. Go your way and live your life. I may call on you again though, because I like the way you get down. Before you go though, take this as a gift for your wife. It was Cell's tail. What? She was gonna love it. The creator dude sent me home. When I got back, Bowman 18 were arguing over how to get her teleporter to work to bring me back. And Beerus and Whis were arguing over whether or not to kill Krampus. All of the Z fighters were at Capsule Corp. They had a tree set up and planned to let Pan and Marin celebrate as soon as I got back. When I arrived, I gave my family a huge hug. When it was time to exchange gifts, I was excited to give Android 18 Cell's tail. And she gave me the shoes that I wanted. I got Marin a tablet and some clothes. Vegeta's kids, they got pretty much whatever they want because, you know, Bulma's rich. And Pan got what appeared to be a stuffed Piccolo doll. And somebody was telling me, wait, that it was a baby Yoda and a VR headset for training. I don't know, a VR headset. I don't know what that is. It was a perfect Christmas. Everyone seemed so happy. Everyone, that is, except for Goku. I went over to him and said, "What's wrong, buddy?" Before he could answer, I realized what it was. He could tell that I had been on an adventure that pushed me to my limits and made me even stronger, and he felt left out. Then suddenly there was a knock at the door. Guess who it was? Yeah, it was Saitama.
I was cool with hanging out with dinos for Christmas if I had to, but I really wanted to fight this Goku guy.
Goku's face lit up as he exclaimed, "Best Christmas ever." Indeed it was, my friend. Best Christmas ever. The two squared up and nearly destroyed the planet sparring. Goku, my dude, y'all gonna have to take that outside. I swear, he's like a big dumb kid or whatever. All right, well, Merry Christmas from Crawford Farms Entertainment.